INFJs, the rarest personality type in the Myers-Briggs system. Known as the advocate or the counselor, INFJs are compassionate, deeply intuitive, and often misunderstood. But what happens when this deeply sensitive and visionary personality goes off balance? What happens when an INFJ becomes unhealthy, or worse, toxic? They may make you uncomfortable. That's the point. INFJs are masters at disguising dysfunction behind introspection. It's time to shatter the illusion. If you're in denial, you'll scroll past this. If you're ready to grow, really grow, lean in. Let's be honest. You were drawn to the INFJ label because you felt seen. You resonated with the deep introspection, the empathetic connection, and the relentless drive for purpose. But here's the truth nobody talks about. INFJs can become dangerous. Not in a villainous, dramatic way, but in a quiet, emotional, manipulative, and even self-destructive way. Don't be afraid to admit it. Radical honesty is where INFJ transformation begins. This video will uncover the 5 shocking toxic behaviors of an unhealthy INFJ. Some of these may sting, really sting. In an ideal world, all 4 functions support each other. But an unhealthy INFJ leans heavily on their dominant functions, an INFE, and neglects the others. Not because you're weak, but because you feel everything. When tension walks into a room, it crashes into your nervous system like a wave. You don't just notice anger, you absorb it. You carry it home, wear it like a second skin, and then smile like everything's fine. If you're an INFJ, this may feel like an attack, but it's a wake-up call. Before we begin, comment below. Have I ever been a toxic version of myself? You say it's okay when it's absolutely not okay. You choose silence over honesty, politeness over boundaries, and peacekeeping over truth. You imagine all the things you should have said but didn't. You call it forgiveness. But what you're really doing is stockpiling rage emotional ammunition, waiting for a moment that never comes. The core of INFJ dysfunction, an INFJ's psychological framework, is built on introverted intuition, followed by extroverted feeling, introverted thinking, and extroverted sensing. They become unbalanced. They become fragile. And again, until the dam breaks, they become controlling, manipulative, obsessive, avoidant, even delusional. Why? Because INFJs crave internal harmony. When the world doesn't match their idealistic view, they either retreat or lash out, quietly, emotionally, passive-aggressively. So let's dive into the 5 shocking signs of an unhealthy INFJ. 1. Emotional avoidance masquerading as peacemaking. You hate conflict. So what do? You shut down, you withdraw, but let's be real, that's not grace. That's self-erasure. You sense what someone's going to say before they say it. You don't just observe, it's your gift. It's how you navigate the world. You're not being mature, you're being invisible. You let people cross your boundaries because confrontation makes your skin crawl, and then you pretend it didn't hurt until it happens again. And when does it break? You don't explode, you implode. Quietly, privately, painfully. Until, to disrupt the illusion of peace, if that's what it takes to be real, you replay the conversation in your head 100 times. A short answer becomes proof they're done with you. A shift in someone's body language? Clearly, they hate you now. Here's the hard truth. You're not avoiding drama. You're avoiding healing. You don't keep the peace at all. You postpone the war. And every time you do, a little piece of you dies in silence. Because peace without truth is just performance. And kindness without boundaries is self-destruction dressed up as virtue. So ask yourself, who are you protecting when you keep your mouth shut? And how much of yourself are you willing to lose just to avoid making someone else uncomfortable? INFJ, you don't have to be the emotional sponge for the world. You don't have to bleed silently to be loved. You're allowed to speak up, to be loud, to be angry. You're not here to disappear, you're here to live. 2. Intuition becomes paranoia. You've always had a sixth sense, haven't you? You walk into a room and feel the tension before a word is spoken. But here's the thing no one tells you. Some people are short because they're overwhelmed, not because they secretly hate you. That same intuition, when left unchecked, can rot into something dangerous. When you're healthy, you use your insight to connect, to understand, to build bridges between what's said and what's felt. But when you're not, you start connecting dots that don't exist. You start reading tone where there is none. A pause in a text becomes a passive-aggressive slight. You call it intuition, but it's fear wearing your empathy like a mask. You don't ask, you don't clarify. Because asking means vulnerability. It means risking the possibility that you're wrong, so instead you assume. You script entire conversations in your head based on one word, one glance, one emoji, and when you just know, you don't leave room for truth. You twist everything to match the story you're already telling yourself, that people are dangerous, that love is conditional, that you're always the one who ends up hurt. But INFJ, intuition without reality is just delusion. Yes, your instincts are powerful, but they're not immune to trauma. You've been burned before, maybe more than once. You learned early on that people could lie, that love could betray, that safety wasn't promised. So now, your intuition doesn't serve your insight, it serves your hypervigilance. You don't trust people, you trust patterns. And even then, only the patterns that confirm your worst fears. Here's the damn truth. Not everyone is out to hurt you. Some people are just tired. Some people are quiet. Some people are short because they're overwhelmed, not because they secretly hate you. You're not a mind reader. You're a human being. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask. Ask, are you okay? Ask, did I do something? Ask, is this about me, or am I creating a story because I'm scared? INFJ, you don't need to protect yourself by imagining every worst-case scenario before it happens. You don't need to cut people off emotionally just because your gut said something might be wrong. Because if you only ever trust your fear, you'll never experience connection. Your intuition is a sword. But a sword without balance will slice through your own peace first. Learn to wield it. Don't let it wield you. 3. Martyrdom that breeds resentment. You were born to care. It's in your bones, isn't it? You see pain and you move toward it. You sense someone's drowning emotionally, and without thinking, you jump into the water even if you can't swim. That's who you are, an advocate, a healer, a giver. But let's talk about the shadow side of all that empathy. Because somewhere along the way, your help stopped being pure. It stopped being love and started becoming something else. Obligation, manipulation, martyrdom. You say yes when your soul is screaming no. You drop everything for everyone, even when your own life is burning to the ground. You bend until you break. Why? Because being needed makes you feel safe. Because giving is the only way you know how to feel worthy. Because if you're constantly pouring into everyone else, maybe, just maybe, someone will notice and pour back into you. But here's the harsh truth, INFJ. This isn't compassion. This is codependency with a damn halo. You help to be seen, you give to be needed. You sacrifice your peace and then sit in quiet rage when nobody thanks you. And the worst part, you think your suffering makes you noble? You think your exhaustion is proof of your goodness. But it's not. It's just proof that you abandoned yourself. Again, you say yes out of guilt. You overextend yourself out of fear that if you stop giving, people will stop loving you. And when they don't reciprocate, you keep a silent scorecard. You tally every favor, every sacrifice, every time you showed up and every time they didn't. Then one day they ask for one more thing and you explode. Not because of that one thing, but because of everything you swallowed just to be loved. INFJ, you're not a victim, you're a volunteer, and you need to own that. Because until you do, you'll keep giving from an empty cup, then punishing people for not refilling it. You'll keep offering help that no one asked for, then turning it into emotional debt. That's not love, that's control dressed as kindness. And you know it, you're allowed to say no, you're allowed to rest, you're allowed to ask for help without earning it first. Your worth isn't measured by how much you suffer for other people. It's measured by how honestly you show up for yourself. Stop betraying your boundaries and calling it love. Stop draining yourself dry and calling it generosity. You want real connection? Real peace? Then start giving from overflow, not from emptiness, because true compassion doesn't breed resentment. Only martyrdom does. 4. Moral superiority. You're not an old soul, you're just self-righteous. Let's not sugarcoat it, you're smart. You see things other people miss? You feel the shift in a person's energy before they say a word. You spot manipulation in someone's tone before others even catch the lie. And somewhere along the line, that knowing made you feel superior. Let's call it what it is. It starts small. You think you're just discerning, observant, intuitive, but the truth? You're judging people, silently, constantly, ruthlessly. You roll your eyes when someone says something shallow. You feel exhausted by people who don't get it like you do. You scoff internally at those who aren't self-aware, emotionally intelligent, or spiritually evolved. You don't mean to be cruel, but it's there. This quiet little voice in the back of your mind saying, I'm different, I'm deeper, I'm better. And INFJ, here's the hard truth. You've taken your depth and weaponized it. What started as discernment turned into ego. What started as insight turned into silent contempt. You became the very thing you claim to see through in others. It's not wisdom if you're using it to look down on people. It's not enlightenment if it separates you from compassion. It's not intuition if it's built on a pedestal. You think you're evolved, but evolution without humility is just elitism in disguise. That person who can't articulate their emotions the way you can, maybe they're surviving trauma you haven't even imagined. That friend who posts superficial stuff on Instagram, maybe they're just trying to feel seen in a world that's ignored them. That coworker who avoids deep conversations, maybe they don't feel safe enough to open up, and why should they? Would you actually listen, or would you analyze them like a damn lab rat? You keep calling yourself an old soul. But if you're so evolved, why do you still resent people for not being you? And let's be honest, you're not Jesus. You're not some ascended guru sent here to save the low-frequency masses. You're a human being who hurts just like everyone else. Stop pretending your emotional IQ makes you immune to ego. Stop confusing emotional aloofness with higher ground. You're not more pure because you meditate or journal or read Jung at midnight. Being INFJ doesn't make you better. It just makes you you. And even then, only if you're doing the work. Real wisdom, it doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need a label. And it sure as hell doesn't need to be felt by everyone around you. You say you want to help people. Then see them, honor them, stop ranking them. Because you can't heal the world while secretly believing it's beneath you. Step off the pedestal, INFJ. Walk with people, not above them. That's where your real power lives. 5. Controlling through emotional manipulation. You pride yourself on understanding emotions, yours and others. You see beneath the surface, hear what's left unsaid, feel what's simmering beneath smiles. But here's the shadow side no one talks about. Sometimes that gift becomes a weapon, not on purpose, not maliciously. But because pain and fear have found a clever mask, you don't ask directly. You don't say what you need, loud and clear. Instead, you drop hints, you nudge with silence. You guilt trip without words, you punish without raising your voice. Because it feels safer to control the emotional atmosphere than to risk being vulnerable. Safer to make others accountable for your feelings than to own them yourself. You wield your empathy like a secret power, reading people's weaknesses and pushing just enough to make them move the way you want. Not by force, but by feeling, by guilt, by unspoken expectations. But here's the bitter truth, INFJ. You're not misunderstood. You're emotionally unavailable. You hide behind the veil of sensitivity, but you keep people at arm's length with silent games. You punish those who don't meet your needs without ever telling them what those needs are. And while it might feel like protection, it's really just another kind of hurt, because true connection demands courage. The courage to speak your truth even if it scares you. The courage to ask for what you want even if it risks rejection. The courage to be seen fully, imperfectly, without controlling the outcome. So ask yourself, is your silence a bridge or a wall? Are you building trust or just keeping score? Are you healing or just hiding behind emotional chess moves? Because INFJ, when you stop manipulating with your emotions and start communicating with your heart, you don't just create healthier relationships, you start to heal your own fractured soul. INFJs carry galaxies in their minds and oceans in their hearts. You feel everything, you see what others miss. You live between the lines of what's said and what's meant. That's your gift, but when you don't ground that power, It turns inward, it festers, it starts to eat you alive. Because here's the truth most people won't tell you. Your shadow isn't the opposite of your light. It is your light, distorted, unclaimed, and begging to be seen. You want to heal the world, but you've been bleeding quietly behind your kindness. You want to be good, but you keep betraying yourself to earn that label. You want to love deeply, but you're terrified of being truly seen, messy, raw, imperfect. Listen to me, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be this soft, spiritual saint that carries everyone else's pain while ignoring your own. You don't need to constantly prove that you're the deep one, or the strong one, or the good one. What you need is to be honest with yourself, with your wounds, with your darkness. Because INFJs don't heal by avoiding their pain. They heal by walking through it, eyes open. They heal by embracing the chaos within and using it to create truth in a world full of pretense. You were never meant to be small. You were never meant to keep shrinking so others could be comfortable. You were never meant to abandon yourself in the name of peace. You're not broken, but you've got work to do. So if even one part of this video hit you in the gut, if you caught your reflection in these shadows, if you're done hiding behind "I'm fine" and people-pleasing and spiritual bypassing, then do this. Comment below, "I'm ready to heal." Let this be your declaration. Let this be your first act of wholeness. Hit that like button so this message reaches other INFJs hiding in their minds. And subscribe, because we're not done yet, we're just getting started. This channel, it's not for fragile egos. It's for INFJs who are finally ready to stop performing peace and start living truth. Your mind is powerful. Your heart is a battlefield, but your soul? Your soul is a lighthouse, not just for others but for yourself. Welcome home.